Hey, looking for some icebreakers for your next get-together with people you know or want to know better? Well, check these out. Twins can be born several months apart. The ostrich's eyes are bigger than its brain. A baby is likely to have more than 5 fingers on its hand if one of its parents has the same condition. Are these real facts or old wives' tales? Let's figure it out. The giant squid has a complex brain which is tiny compared to the animal's body. The most astonishing thing, though, it's shaped like a donut, and the squid's esophagus, the pipe delivering food to the stomach, runs through the donut hole. It means that too big food chunks can hurt the brain. Your taste receptors won't work without saliva. Try wiping your tongue with a paper towel until it's dry, and then put a piece of your favorite food in your mouth. Spoiler: you won't taste any flavor. Unless your food is dissolved in saliva, your taste buds can't detect food molecules. The filling between Kit Kat waffles is made of other substandard Kit Kats. Let's say something's gone wrong, and a Kit Kat bar has too many bubbles or is imperfect in some other way that mars its appearance, but not the taste. No problem! It gets mashed up into a smooth paste and turned into a new bar's filling. The longest time between the birth of twins was 87 days. Then one girl was born almost 4 months before the due date, while the other waited for the appropriate time to draw her first breath. If you managed to find a body of water huge enough to fit Saturn, this gigantic planet would float on its surface. It's a gas planet made up of 94% hydrogen, 6% helium, and tiny amounts of ammonia and methane. All these gases are less dense and lighter than water. That's why the planet wouldn't submerge. Your shoelaces keep untying because every time you walk, the knots on them are under a huge gravitational force, 7 times higher than normal. For comparison, the world's most powerful roller coaster makes you experience a gravitational force of 6.3 Gs. Ever seen tiny dots traveling in squiggly lines, especially while you're staring at the bright blue sky? The dots are only visible for a second or less and might look like itsy-bitsy worms. Those are your white blood cells moving inside the capillaries in front of your eye retina. Interestingly, most people don't notice these dots until asked to pay attention. If a tooth was accidentally knocked out along its root, it can be placed right back in its place and it'll heal. But you should act in the first 30 minutes, otherwise it'll be too late. Starfish don't have a centralized brain. Their nervous system is evenly spread throughout their legs, or are they arms? Anyway, instead of blood, these creatures use seawater to pump different nutrients through their bodies. The last letter added to the English alphabet wasn't Z, it was J. It's also no coincidence that I and J stand side by side. These letters started out as the same character. Doctors recognize more than 400 phobias, and some internet resources catalog almost 1,000, ranging from quite common, like the fear of darkness or spiders, to outright bizarre. For example, pogonophobics are scared of beards, and optophobics of opening their eyes. The Ring of Fire is a horseshoe-shaped area in the Pacific Ocean that contains 452 volcanoes. That's more than 75% of all the active and sleeping volcanoes in the world. Almost 90% of all earthquakes, including 81% of the largest ones, happen in the Ring of Fire. Now, when you breathe through your nose, one nostril always inhales more air than the other. But don't worry, they swap over every 15 minutes or so. Also, one study claims that when you breathe through your right nostril, you get more oxygen than while doing it through your left one. Who knows? Most people don't notice it, but when you aren't using your tongue, it's closer to the upper palate than to the lower one. Remember the hiss your FM radio makes when it's tuned to a frequency between stations? Part of this hiss, called white noise, is the Big Bang. In other words, you still hear how the universe was created about 13.8 billion years ago. Several studies have proven that children born prematurely are twice as likely to be left-handed than babies who appear as planned. It would take you almost half a year to reach the moon if you decided to travel by car at a speed of 65 miles per hour. Never mind the fact that there are no roads to drive on. Otherwise, if you moved at the speed of light, the whole trip would last just a bit more than 1 second. Before color television appeared in the 1950s and 60s, 75% of people claimed they saw dreams in black and white. These days, it's only 12%. Scientists claim they found an explanation for this phenomenon. People who used to watch black and white movies and TV in their childhood dream in grayscale throughout all their lives. The ostrich has huge eyes the size of pool balls. They take loads of space. Probably that's why the bird's brain is so tiny, smaller than either of its eyeballs. It might be the reason why ostriches run in circles while trying to escape from predators. Tiny spiders have huge brains. An itsy-bitsy spider's central nervous system fills up almost 80% of its body, including 25% of its legs. A photon, which is a tiny packet of light, often spends more than 40,000 years to travel from the sun's core to its surface. But after that, it needs just 8 minutes to reach Earth. You can turn almost any material that's capable of melting into glass. You just have to be really quick to cool the molten substance off before its molecules realign back into what they used to be before being melted. Now, it looks as if flamingos' knees bend backwards, but in fact, it's their ankles, not knees. The birds spend almost all their time on tiptoes. It's hard to see their knees because they're close to the body and covered with feathers. Apples you buy at the supermarket might not be as fresh as you think. Usually, slightly unripe fruit gets picked sometime between August and November. Then they get waxed, dried with hot air, boxed, and left in cold storage. Only 6 to 12 months later, these apples finally land on the supermarket shelves. The leech has its body divided into 32 separate segments, and each of them has its own brain. By the way, this creature also has 10 stomachs. Says right here. In the early days of photography, a wide-open smile was seen as childish and rather impolite. That's why photographers told people to say prunes instead of cheese. This word kept the mouth shut. Polydactyly, the condition when a person has more than 5 fingers or toes on one or each hand or foot, can be genetically inherited. In other words, this condition can be passed to a baby by one of its parents. Sloths, the slowest animals on the planet, are surprisingly good swimmers. They have strong arms that help them move through the water. The animals can also slow their heart rate down to 1/3 of its normal pace. It allows them to hold their breath for up to 40 minutes while they're underwater. Lobsters, wouldn't you know, have very poor vision. That's why they get to know about their environment through touch, smell, and taste. But unlike most animals, lobsters taste by using tiny bristles inside their smaller claws called pincers. These bristles play the role of taste buds. Oh, by the way, the lobster's teeth are in its stomach. 9-banded armadillos always give birth to 4 genetically identical babies. After birth, the little ones stay with their mother for half a year or so, then leave to have their own lives, dodging cars as they run across highways in Texas. Little daredevils. Hey, if you learned something new today, then give the video a like and share it with a friend. And here are some other videos I think you'll enjoy. Just click to the left or right, and remember, stay on the bright side of life.